So for the start, I would like to ask you your name and your age.
I am John Weilacher and I'm 41 years old.
Yeah, for your information, so this interview is being used for the research of me and my group partner Nani. It's going to be recorded, but we'll only use it as text. But you can also get the recording, of course. And we will not use names in the research itself. But if we will use that we thought about doing an art project with this later. If we will do that, we will not do anything with this without asking you. So none of this will get into the wrong hands.
Well, it's good that you record it and keep the recording because it might be good, beneficial in the future.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm going to tell you this after interview, otherwise I'll be afraid to you too much.
That's good.
Well then, you agree to the interview?
Yeah.
I'll just need that for the legal stuff. Then let's start. Can you describe what is life like living in Wickerpoort?
Life in Wickerpoort, it was kind of so the city is divided in many boroughs, and every borough has its own kind of vibe to it, and maybe even their own dialect. And every corner of Maastricht has its own culture to it, kind of. Like if you go from west to east, if you go over the bridges and over the station, like the Wickerpoort is behind the railway station, and this means that it's kind of disconnected from the western part of the city, and so it's a different kind of culture that's going on, more of East culture. Then on the other side of the station, there's a whole different vibe there. And on other kinds of stations, more commercial, cafes, all kinds of busyness and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But if you go to Wickerpoort over the station, then you see it's kind of abandoned. It's kind of there's not so many activities or commercialism. It's a living residential area, and what I like, what for me, I've been living there since 2007, and I moved out in 2022, and yeah, it's a people's neighborhood. There's also the center of the hooligans or the football supporters is there. There's a house where they always gather and they do how you call it, like they gather with a lot of people and then they walk around through the streets and they throw fireworks one time a year or so when there's football.
Yeah.
So there was also the contact with the people in the neighborhood. At one point, there's social control. There's a social control. If someone steps out of bounds, other people will notice it, and they can then call the number and say like, "Oh, this guy is acting strange. Maybe he's psychotic or something." And there's a social control system through WhatsApp. All the people in the neighborhood have a WhatsApp app. It was called the Appel. So like 20 years ago, suddenly the mayor said like, we have to we do an appel to the civilians to get this app where they can how you say that they can if someone does something wrong in the neighborhood, they can call that number, and then it will be taken care of by the government. So that was something strange. That there was a really social control, and like a lot of people in the neighborhood know each other. People talked on the streets, and the old ladies sitting around, and they were talking about all kinds of things. And then when you walked past by them, they would talk to you, and so yeah, it was a positive experience. But there were also some strange things, because at one point they started breaking down all the buildings. So all the time that I've lived there, first they were building the new park which is there.
The Groene Loper.
The Groene Loper they were building. So there was years and years of building and taking the road away and putting the road under the ground, which is positive actually. It's less cars and less danger, because a lot of people sometimes people got in accidents because of the cars. There was a lot of cars. Because the A2 street, the A2 highway also was a barrier. For that it was like the station is a barrier. So Wieterpoort was between the station and the A2 street. It was like a little strip. You couldn't move so freely around. So that I noticed that it was walled off. One side the A2 and the other side the station. The A2 became like they built it into a walking space and got rid of the cars. But also a lot of housing where people were living. The whole neighborhoods were being torn down. Like there were like whole blocks suddenly vanished. And that was also strange. I always got very sad about that, because I thought, like, where do the people go? Where do all these people go that have to leave their houses and get out of their house? And the gentrification, man, it was really strange. And
How was the community before that happened? How was your day in that neighborhood and the other people?
Yeah, people would walk their dogs, and sometimes if you walk around and you live there, you talk to some of them, you see them more often, and people were sitting on the streets and outside a little bit, gathering, and with the neighbors, I talked with my neighbors. I think most people knew each other, kind of, like a lot of people knew each other. The main residents of the area, it's like neighborhoods where everybody sees each other, and they are the other people. They would be concerned about me.
Yeah.
They would know about me, and they would be concerned about me, and they have their stories about me, because they were just I was just like one resident like them, and I was a little bit strange. And, but because before I lived there, I also used to live in a squat, like I told you. I used to live in an old farm, and then suddenly I lived in a normal apartment in a normal neighborhood.
And the people knew.
And maybe even before I was put there in that house, maybe the GGZ, maybe they informed the people about me coming to live there, because I had some issues with the mental health system, and because they took me out of the squad with violence, and I was connected to the mental hospital. And then after the mental hospital, they said to me, we will get you an apartment, which was very good. And then in 2007, I suddenly lived in Wieterpoort.
Would you say there was a sense of community when you moved there?
When I moved there, I didn't know anyone, of course. And I didn't mind anyone. If you go live somewhere, you don't get to, hey, Ramu.
Doing the interview right now.
Yes. Hallo. Hey jongen, wat vind je dat te doen? Je hebt fijne warme handen.
He's training for a marathon. Can see the outfit.
I don't care what weather it's going to be. I'm not ready for anything.
Ready for anything.
-10, cold rain, snow, all is good.
And when did that change? Like first people didn't know you, then people started getting to know you.
How did I change? Yeah, I walked around there, I lived there, and I made music, and I had the window open, and then
What kind of music?
all kinds of music, more jazzy than noisy, more jazzy than noisy. So it was beautiful music coming out of my apartment. I was recording in my apartment, and people got to know me. First my neighbors, and then the neighborhood ladies, and then the neighbor from across the street. Like step by step, I became to know everyone. But I thought I was a stranger.
Did people help each other?
Oh yeah, I remember there was like my neighbor. My neighbor was kind of like a hooligan guy, and he was listening to hardcore music a lot. And then I was also listening to a lot of music, so we kind of, how you say that, we bothered each other. And he would scream a lot and be angry sometimes through the walls. And then his mother would, or his auntie would live across the street, and she would bake waffles, and she would bake waffles for him and for me, so we wouldn't fight. And she always said, like, if there's any trouble, just call my nephew, or just call your neighbor, and if there's anything wrong or troubles. But yeah, and the other neighbor, oh man, he was like a speed freak, and he did speed all the time. I was paranoid, and I gonna in the end, first I had some okay talks with him, but he was kind of violent as well. Then I got into a fight with him, and I got kicked out of my house 2 years ago.
Well, I would love to talk about that more, but first tell me a bit on when did the neighborhood start to change? You already talked about the new buildings and buildings being torn down.
First, what happened? So all the people that lived there had to move, and then they put students in it, like anti-kraak.
Yeah.
So that is part of gentrification. I put and there was like an art gallery made by squatters. So some people squatted also some of the buildings. And there was an art gallery being run by them, and I did some activities there as well. Yeah, but it changed because first people had to move out, and then they started, after a few years, they started tearing down the buildings. So what I noticed, what they always do, like in a neighborhood where they go gentrification, first they tell the people to leave, and one by one they have to leave reluctantly, and then in those houses they make, well, one of the houses a little center where they put some creative people. So the gentrification becomes more bearable. So the people think like, yeah, there's gentrification, we have to leave, but there's this little nice artist cafe where we can hang out.
The Mandrel as well, they have art exhibitions there.
That's also part of gentrification, that they put some sweet, nice people, artist people in a building. And then I noticed in Amsterdam as well, there was also a neighborhood where they were gentrification doing some things, and then there was a little artist place. The government uses these sweet, good artists to make it less, to make it bearable for people. Acceptable, but it's still a part. Even though it's positive that we did those things and we did all those art things, I still think we helped with gentrification of that area. But even though we were just like the soothsayers or something.
Did you know some of the people that got kicked out?
No, not necessarily. I did. So they put all the students in the houses. They put students in the houses, or young people that only get the right to live there for a few years and have to leave whenever those corporations say they have to leave. So that was a nice time when the young people were all there, and I was young as well. But then I noticed that some of my friends had to move. that the houses were being torn down and they were forced to move, and that was very sad because I missed all my friends that lived there.
Do you know where they went?
Yeah, where they went?
Yeah.
All over. Everyone lives their own life. Everybody got their own little place again. And, some of them are in the squatters community still. So some of them are just living in like a normal neighborhood. Something. Time changes.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you can't make it last forever, and the times just end. Good times end.
Yeah. And did they get any help with moving?
Oh, I don't know. No idea. Like from the government or something, or from I don't know. I didn't see that. I do remember when I got kicked out of my house. They did pay the eviction, like all the stuff being thrown out. They paid for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about that a bit. Like, when did you get kicked out?
Yeah. So I got kicked out in 2022, and it was because I was busy with some experiments, some audio experiments in my house, and I was talking in tongues. You know, talking in tongues. Have you heard about that? Like the disciples of Jesus, when they were at some place, they were gathered in front of a group of people, and Jesus was already gone. But then it was the Pentecostal day, and then from the sky the flames came, and they started to talk in all kinds of languages, and everybody could understand it. Like they started talking in tongues, like a Pentecostal miracle. So around the time of Pentecost, when I was at my house, I was into all kinds of things and did some experiments with sound. But then suddenly I started talking myself. I started to a stream of talking for hours and hours and hours and hours. I woke up and started talking to something. I don't know what it was. But my neighbors, they didn't like that I was talking in my own house, and would scream at me and knock at my door to quit it, and also with the music that I made, but not in a nice way, but with wanted to punch me. And they also called, and then when the guy wanted to punch me, I became very angry, and I intimidated him very strongly. And then the Salvatius, he called the police, and everybody in the neighborhood called, all kinds of people, and he said,
Salvatius is the building company.
Yeah, the corporation. So the whole neighborhood voted for me being kicked out.
How does that work?
I don't know. They just talk about it, and then they say you have to leave.
And how was that for you?
It was very shitty. Very bad. Because I lost all my stuff. And,
your belongings as well?
My belongings as well. And, not everything. I kept like a bunch, but a lot of things were lost. The strange things was that the people from the neighborhood also thought it was time for me to leave.
So there's like this connection between the people kicking you out and the Salvatius. Do I understand that right?
Yeah, what they do if someone is a nuisance, people have a number that they can call, what I talked about, a WhatsApp group, and they just all call to the Salvatius, and they how you call it, they melden. They report you.
I didn't know about that. I knew about Salvatius, but I didn't know that they are so involved as well.
Yeah, it's like if you go a little crazy and too wild, and they just lock you up. I got locked up after it as well. I got locked up for 2 years in mental hospital. And I didn't have a house. And after the mental hospital, they put me in a halfway house. All kinds of different people that have all kinds of mental illnesses. And then last year in December, they got me a new apartment. So they also helped me because I was crazy. I was very aggressive and crazy to this guy. I was very intimidating. So I brought it upon myself.
You don't have to, like, you can always stop, but can I ask, do you know what brought you to this?
To what?
Yeah, going crazy.
Oh man, that's a long story, but I think, what it felt like as if there was kind of mind control going on. The kind of mind control, that there were signals in the air that would it's a kind of mind control, like voices in the air that try to program you and me. They tried to it felt like I was being programmed by a legion of voices that were like spirits or something. It sounded like it came out of a speaker. And it was like, and they knew everything I did, like everything I would think, everything I would do, everything I would move. These voices always would have comments to it, and they said to me that they were scientists. It was kind of very crazy stuff, and I reacted to that, and I went more crazy and crazy. But then the big crazy part was that I was experimenting with frequencies. So I had all kinds of different frequencies. So all kinds of different frequencies going on my speakers, and with synthesizers and all kinds of things.
Real quick, I don't want to bother you, but we're doing an interview real quick.
What was I saying? What was I saying?
The scientist.
Yes, I was doing these science experiments with frequencies, and these voices they were influenced by it, or like I could block the voices with certain frequencies, and if I would close my ears, I wouldn't hear. So I think there's a big project, a secret government project or something, or below government, or deep state, or whatever they say, where they electronically project voices into people's minds to control them. And it's something that's very prevalent. And people that go crazy, they mostly they have a feeling that something is influencing them. And so I was doing these experiments and then all kinds of crazy things and all kinds of crazy paranormal things started happening. And also one thing, across from the street there was like a rubble, like a whole field of rubble, and in this rubble field there used to be a big building from the Royal Telecommunication.
I know exactly which building you're talking about.
That building. And in 2002, me and another group of people from the art academy were recruited to come in that building and do anti-kraak in that building. That was before I went to do real kraak.
Yeah.
And what I think what happened is because under the ground there's this urban myth that under the ground of this Royal Telecommunication building there was a whole access to a whole set of tunnels from a secret NATO base.
They have a bunch of them, yeah.
This story that there was a secret NATO base underground. So what happened? These people that recruited us into doing anti-kraak in this telecom building, the leader of this company was ex-military. So it was very strange because in this building, it was a huge building. You couldn't open the windows, and and it was a very, very otherworldly experience. But with three of the people that lived there, they all became psychotic within certain while. So I think they have been experimenting on us, like we were young people, and they put us in this building, and then they started experimenting on us and with these electronic frequencies. Many strange things happened there, and three of the people who lived there, they all were committed to mental hospitals, and I was one of them who was committed to the mental hospital.
Do you think the neighborhood had an effect on it as well?
Yeah, so if there's an underground military base there, where they do all kinds of experiments with people and frequencies, and the people don't know about it. I don't think like when I was living there in the KPN building, it was just the neighborhood wasn't broken down so much. The A2 road highway was still there, and we lived there with 12 people or so in the building. That story is very important about the mind control and about. But I don't know if it's real, because they said to me it's an illusion. It's just in your mind. You are schizophrenic.
Yeah.
They said to me when I tried to explain what happened.
Well, either way, they fucked you up. I don't want to push this on you, but
I thought of this as well. That I thought they took me and they fucked me up, and I was so angry with them. But later on, I discovered, maybe I did go into a risky endeavor. When I was living in the KPN gebouw, not a lot of things had happened. It wasn't so strange, everything. It was still normal life. But there were some really strange things. And in the KPN building, there were like doors and elevators where you could go through the whole building. But there was also access to more deeper underground, perhaps, where you could access the deeper underground secret world of this so-called NATO secret base. And what I also noticed is that the new architecture that they have built there is much more compliant to these mind control projects. So the buildings are built in such a way which is less organic and more electronic. The new buildings are built in a way that people are more easily controlled and more easily isolated. Isolation is one of that you can isolate yourself, or you can be isolated in your own building without air, without that you close the door and it's a hermetic vacuum.
Yeah. The new residents, you feel like, are also more isolated there, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's
After the mental hospital, where did you move?
I moved to the other side of the city, in the west part, in the borough of Brussels Poort.
And do you still have a sense of belonging in Wickerport?
Yeah, I do, but I don't go there anymore because I might get into fights.
What do you think is the perception people have now in their neighborhood?
The perception of what?
Of Wickerport. What do people in Maastricht, in different groups in Maastricht, think about Wickerport now?
I don't know. I don't know what the other people think of Wickerport.
Or what do you think about the new residents?
They look beautiful, the new houses. They look very nice.
Very pretty. Chic and schön.
Chic and schön, and it's also expensive. The people that live there, they are more rich people. And people who have a lot of money, they can live there. But people who don't have a lot of money, they have to move somewhere else.
Do you think they still have a sense of belonging now with the new residents? Or a sense of community, maybe?
I myself, when I looked at the neighborhood and I see all those blocks being torn down, I thought like, shit, my whole neighborhood is being destroyed. I was thinking. I thought it was really sad. But then again, there was another guy that also lived there, like a neighbor of me, and he said like, yeah, but it's good that they build new buildings because then it's more better and it's more. He didn't question it at all.
Yeah, they moved the problem, would you say?
No, yeah,
No?
I think there's also something to say about renewing the buildings, and there's also some arguments for doing this gentrification.
Yeah, so it's more sides to it.
You could say like yeah, there's like an aspect of progress to it, that they want the people to live in better houses with the newest technologies and the newest ways of building a house. For the old houses, if you have an old house, and they weren't built that well, these houses after the war.
Yeah.
They weren't built as well. They were built very quickly, and what do I want to say? That these houses, they rot, and at one point you can't live in them anymore. The houses, at one point the houses just become after 40 years. There are all kinds of problems which arise with the architecture, and then you need to replace it.
The asbestos, the insulation, the chemicals.
Yeah, all kinds of things. So they have new building requirements, and everything has to comply to that. So they build new buildings. So maybe it's an inevitable part of life, and yeah. Maybe it's essence, one thing that's essential in our society that is all times changing.
Yeah.
And even though we think it's sad and we miss our old buildings, it's progress, and we can stop it.
How would you describe the changes in in cultural, business, and the social changes in the neighborhood with the gentrification? How did that affect the people there?
Yeah, it's also sometimes suddenly there's less people. Like this whole block is gone, and also in these neighborhoods there was like a sense of community. People were sitting on the streets drinking their beers and their music and all these things. It was like a folk neighborhood.
Yeah.
They would say Volksweg.
Yeah.
And yeah, so most of the older residents and normal people, they don't mind the gentrification actually often, and they don't resist it. I got sad and angry because of the gentrification, and I thought I had to stand up to it, and thought I had to fight it. But in the end, it's just throwing beers against the wall.
You think you can't win that fight there anymore?
Not really.
Yeah. I think we got a lot of stuff covered I wanted to talk about. So, what do you think, how could that neighborhood, if you would be in control, what would you change in that neighborhood? How would you improve it? If you could, if you would be the one that makes that decision.
I wouldn't have changed anything. I wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
People could have lived there for hundreds of years in these houses, even though it was even though the houses would wither away. Like for instance, here Longo where we are now, we are still living there, and it has been standing here for over 100 years or so.
1936 it has been built. Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, so you still enjoy it, even though it's a worn down old factory.
Exactly.
You still enjoy it, and I also would still have enjoyed it if I would be living in Wieterpoort in an old building, and yeah, I also would have enjoyed it. So if it would have gone my way, all these buildings would not have been torn down. The A2, it's good that they took it away.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were being hit by cars over there. So that was good, but then taking away all the houses is not that good. Because if you want to have a green loper, groen loper, then you also need people to walk around on it. And if you take away all the houses, then those people cannot enjoy it anymore. And also, what one thing was, the people said to me always like, yeah, you live there, you know, the groene loper, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be great, and you will live in such a good neighborhood. But then it turns out, I will not be living in that neighborhood, but other people who are living in the new houses, they will be living in the neighborhood, and I'm living somewhere else now.
I've learned also that they have much more short-term rent leases, right? How do you think that has affected the neighborhoods?
Well, I don't know about this. I know about the anti-squat that they were for short time.
Yeah, for example, the anti-crack, yeah.
Yeah, I found it sad because I had some friends living there and they had to go. We could have lived there for 100 years. Why did they take away the gallery? Like there was a gallery and there were people living there and it was very creative and nice and artists and it was very nice. But then suddenly that had to go. And that, I found actually the in between the gentrification time, that was the nicest time when the artists were there and there was all this creativity. Yeah, that was the nicest time over there. But then the gentrification was already going. Yeah, the art gallery was on the Old Hickory Plain.
Mm-hmm.
It was called OHP 9, Old Hickory Plain 9, and they had like lectures and art exhibitions and very nice. It was run by Casper Koenig, an artist. Also an artist.
Was that the transition period before the building was turned down?
Yeah, they renovated the building, so they didn't tore it down, but they rebuilt some things on it. They renovated it. So also what happens, not the whole neighborhood gets torn down, but they replace the buildings. They renovate it. So where I live now also has just been recently renovated, so it looks the same as the old building, but it's improved. Yeah. And that's also part of gentrification, that they rebuild those, which is, and then people can come back after. So that's not so bad.
And I think to round all of this a bit up, I really enjoyed this interview, I have to say. Like a lot. What is your, I don't know how to say it in English, I'll say it in German. What's your Fazit? Like your conclusion. What's the conclusion of all of this time you've lived there?
That everything is temporary. And we are in transition. Like it's a transition from one house to another house, from a different place to a different place. You meet new people. There's also always a transition. There's new people coming. There's you get into a new house. Yeah, nothing is forever. So when you're young, you think like, oh, this place will be forever, and you will fight for it, and it will be forever. But when you get older, you know, like everything just gets torn down, and it's just a way of life. And you have to accept it, kind of, that all these things end.
Is there any final words you would like to say? Because otherwise, I'm very happy with this interview.
Okay. Yeah, about
put you something here.
Okay, about the underground military bases and those things. So I think there is like a effort going on to control people's minds, to make them complicit, not comply, not complicit, but to comply, to obey. Like if you, what can happen if people are on their own in a house like that? They they get and they have all kinds of ideas that are not compliant with the normal stuff, then there's a big risk of being taken into mental hospitals, and that's also part of it. So yes, when I was thinking yesterday about the interview, I was thinking like, I should talk about this as well. You see a lot of people, they call them verwarde personen. You know this term?
Say the first.
Verwarde personen.
Yeah.
I don't know how I say that in English or German.
I couldn't translate
In
that.
German?
No.
So there's always a risk to become a verwarde persoon and then being locked up in if you resist.
Yeah.
If you resist.
Okay. I will end the interview there.